Hello, and welcome to our sleep webinar. My name is Kelsey. This is Dr. Drew, and we are a husband and wife. We own Revival Health Center here in Clive, Iowa, and we're a chiropractic wellness center, and we love what we get to do. We love being able to help people truly experience the power of chiropractic, and then we marry that with a wellness-based lifestyle, right? That's why we do little webinars and workshops like this on different topics, because when we believe, and you know that saying of when we know better, we can do better. And we truly do believe that. So today we wanted to do just a little mini webinar on sleep, because sleep, we believe, is such an important topic and foundation for our overall health, right? And I know that's kind of cliche to say. People always say like sleep is so important, but it truly is a foundation for whether you're going to get good health outcomes or poor health outcomes. And so I was actually recently reading something online from a doctor that basically said, like, no matter how quality your nutrition is or how great your exercise program is, like, if you're not getting good quality sleep, your health is going to show that, right? You're not going to have as good of health outcomes as you should. And so that's kind of the leading domino when it comes to your health. So we want to jump right into it. So why sleep is important. So we are wireless, right? Our body is so incredibly designed that we don't need to plug into the wall at like an iPhone might need to, or a computer to recharge. Like our body is wireless, and sleep is our charging station, right? So that's when our body will reset and recharge. However, our body is not just shutting down during that time. We're not just recharging our battery. There is a lot going on in our body during that time. There's lots of different functions and processes that are still happening while we're resting, while we're sleeping, right? So just some examples of different functions that are happening during our sleep. So during that time, our body and our brain are processing information that happened to us throughout the day, right? So it's taking that in and reorganizing it, so to speak, to set us up for the next day, to kind of create that muscle memory for us. It's also releasing toxic waste during that time. It's releasing a number of different hormones for us. And one of the biggest things that we're doing, that our body is doing during that time, is it's repairing and healing during that time. It's restoring energy and healing, whether you have an injury or a wound, or you have a cold or an illness of some sort. That's oftentimes when you do have a cold or an illness, your body is more tired because it wants that time to be able to repair and to heal. Right. And so there's many different functions and processes that are happening. These are just a few. So it's helping with your immune system, again, wound and injury healing. It's helping us to think clearly. So our cognitive function. Your sleep will actually determine like how much sleep you're getting and quality sleep you're getting is going to help you age well, especially cognitively, with your memory, and how you can retain things. So again, sleep is a huge part of our overall health. Physically, mentally, emotionally. So what are some of the effects or the symptoms that you might feel with poor or inadequate sleep? So just as a reference, and you can attest to this, I believe research is now showing that women actually do need more sleep than men. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So for reference, women typically need between 8 and 10 hours of sleep, and men need between 7 and 9, correct? Yeah. And that's based on our hormone differences. So we do biologically, men are on more of a 24-hour cycle, and women are on more of a 28 to 30-day cycle of hormones. So it depends on how old you are and what season of life you're in and things like that. But in general, women actually do need more sleep than men. So as reference, if you're getting less than like 7 hours of sleep, you might have the effects of brain fog, right? So you're not thinking clearly, like I just said. You have a lack of attention span. You're not able to process things. Feelings of, so your mental health will struggle. You have depression, anxiety, difficulty processing new ideas or information in general, weight gain, decreased immune system. So there's lots of different things. And then accumulating that over time will create bigger disease too. So things like, cancer and heart disease and things like that, that poor health over that course of time will lead to bigger things. And then what causes, there we go. So causes, we're going to get into a little bit more of these things, but generally speaking, like when you think about cause, like that's also the solution. So that should be the good news. When you start to talk about the causes, when you start to hone in on some of those things, that's also your solution. So the umbrella cause of poor sleep is a dysregulated nervous system. So Drew's actually going to talk about that. We are a chiropractic office, and so we talk about the nervous system a lot. But again, that is controlling everything in your body. So all of these things under dysregulated nervous system are things that are affecting the nervous system. So again, the umbrella cause is the dysregulated nervous system. So when you start to hone in on that, you're going to see the positive effects of that. So anyway, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Drew here.
Awesome. So I think one of the things that we talk about is the talking about the nervous system. And a lot of this is going to be focused on regulating your nervous system. And what I mean by that is I'm going to break it down into simplistic terms first and try and get more detailed later. So sympathetic versus parasympathetic. I think of sympathetic like the gas pedal, and parasympathetic is more the brake pedal, right? And we need to have a balance. It's not necessarily that I want to just like chastise sympathetic as bad. It is good. It's how our body is designed, and we want to be able to think about it in the acute window versus like being stuck too much in the sympathetic for too long a periods of time. And the analogy I think of this is that when we initially, like how our body is wired or designed is that sympathetic is I see a predator and I have an option, either I fight or I flight. Well, now instead of like being out and seeing a predator like a bear or a tiger or a lion, whatever else it is, our sympathetic is stuck in commuting and or stress of getting our kids to school and back, or sports and getting them to practice, or band or whatever else it is, financial stress, inability to be able to compartmentalize life, and all of a sudden weeks go by, months go by, years go by, and I'm still stuck in this overall sympathetic drive. And I'm wondering how I even got to the point that I got to as far as feeling a physical manifestation or a symptom based on the fact that I've been stuck in a stressful situation for far too long, right? So if we stay in sympathetic for too long, that's where we're going to see some more of the dangers. And again, it's not so much as like it's bad. We need that acute response. We want to regulate it better so that our body can respond to stress really well. And this is why, again, I love what I get to do is we see people so often, a story literally just 2 weeks ago of someone who came in for low back pain, and the pain started to go away, and he was seeing that he was able to move better and function better at work too. And then it was like casually on a Wednesday afternoon was like, oh yeah, hey, by the way, like I used to wake up 2 or 3 times per night in pain and just not sleeping well. He's like, now I'm sleeping through the night. Right, as you're removing that pain and that interference in your nervous system, it's allowing your body to regulate that and actually get into a more of a deep and restful sleep. So again, it's not as though we're treating lack of sleep or inability to sleep, but it's allowing your body to get rid of that interference and actually have more of a restful night's sleep. It's so cool to be able to see that for a young child to an adult, and they were in between. We're really being able to see how we can regulate that and then keep that regulated and not have these huge ebbs and flows. I'm gonna go over a few different things as far as topics on actually how to support or improve your sleep. And the underlying theme here is good sleep starts in the morning. And I hope to make some sense of that as I go through some of these. So I'm big on developing habits and kind of having more of this 90-10 rule. But the first thing I want to think about is sunlight and just light in general. People want to say we're solar beings and we are aligned with the sun. But one of the things you can really do to improve your sleep is how you actually wake up and get up in the morning. So ideally, when we get up in the morning, we are somewhat attuned to sunlight. And what I mean by that is this is a personal goal for me is if I'm up before the sun comes up in the morning, that's one thing. But in general, I want within that first half an hour or so of being awake to actually look out and feel the sun on my skin, so to speak. So that doesn't have to be that you go out and like stare at the sun. Like that's not the goal, right? We want to get outside and allow your skin, your eyes to feel the sun. I'll look almost like not directly at it, but like gaze separate from it. Now, one of the things I want to go over with this too is windows do actually affect that. So there's something about physically getting outside and feeling that sunlight, again, on our skin, on our face. And honestly, one of the things you can do, and I'm going to go over this a little bit later too, but is movement. Dogs are great for this because they want to get out and, I don't know, taking your cat for a walk. But like think about taking your dog for a walk in the morning. It's kind of a 2-for-1 where it allows you to be out in the sunlight. and you're actually moving and breathing and regulating that as you start your day. So if you have a dog and you are, you're getting up in the morning, oh, it's early. It's actually really good to set that for the next day and set your circadian rhythm. Think of, and as I say circadian rhythm, think of that as basically like your 24-hour cycle of energy, movement, sleep, and how you can actually keep that well for you and not have these huge ups and downs. So cortisol regulation. Cortisol has this bad rap of being this hormone that's only for stress. And in reality, it's how our body responds to stress. So I think I want to kind of attune you to that, where it's not so much that like, oh, cortisol is so bad, you can't have any cortisol. No, we need it. Just like we need a sympathetic as far as the acute stress, we need the cortisol response to be something that we can work with and regulate and not have these huge ebbs and flows. So cortisol should spike in the morning and then be even throughout the day. So what are some ways to be able to actually regulate that? One, that's getting the morning sunlight, getting some morning movement, and then actually going over how your body should regulate temperature throughout the day. So again, with cortisol, it should be something where within the first hour or two, it spikes, so to speak, and then it's steady throughout the day. As we see people that come in here and they have this dysregulation, is that it doesn't quite spike and then it just plateaus all day long, and they're wondering why they need that afternoon nap, or that energy plateau tends to just be zapped. So temperature, digging on that a little bit, we want to warm up before bed, or so we want to warm up in the morning, warm up in the morning and then cool down before bed. Some ways to hack that would be this. Taking a cold shower in the morning. You don't have to go out and buy some fancy ice tub plunge or something like that, or whatever else it is. Even a cold shower in the morning can be a really good way to regulate some of that. As you are taking on cold water, so to speak, it helps your internal thermostat to turn up. So that's how I want you thinking about that. It's not so much that there's a mental component to cold showers, absolutely. But there's also an idea that we're actually regulating your body's own thermostat to warm up with how it's having cold around it too. So that's one way is jumping in and taking a cold shower. Some people will actually do it if they don't want to take a cold shower, don't want to jump into an ice bath. They'll get a water, like a bowl of ice water, and put their face in it. I'm not a big fan of that personally. I like to take the cold showers, if anything. But again, we want to upregulate our thermostat by exposing ourselves to something cold in the morning, so to speak. And then at night, if you were to compartmentalize this, when is the best time to do a cold shower or something like that? I would say more in the morning, or waking up and doing an ice bath or something like that. And then at night or later on in the days, we think about more things that are a sauna, or trying to warm up your body so that your thermostat then cools down. And we want to have that ebb and flow, that circadian rhythm throughout our day. So temperature regulation is how we actually can work with cortisol then too. As we talk about sleep and energy and overall energy cycles, people often ask about coffee and caffeine. As you would ingest something warm, oftentimes quite warm, that actually helps regulate your body's own thermostat as well too. So that could be coffee, that could be tea, that could be something of just drinking hot water with lemon or something like that. Those things actually help to increase your body's own thermostat and get the temperature regulation then started throughout the day then too. I'm going to dig in a little bit more on caffeine here. Just some things that I've seen that work really well. Setting a barometer or a time for when you don't drink caffeine past that. So that could be, like a pre-workout before you work out. That could be coffee or tea, whatever else it is. For me, I drop pretty hard line stance as far as noon, lunch. And again, that kind of depends on when people's sleep wakes. If people are up later and wake up earlier, then that might change a little bit. Typically, what I've researched is 2 p.m. is kind of the latest time for that too. Not only does that affect the rest of your day, but it affects how you sleep at night then too. So I enjoy a nice cup of coffee. Is something that I think is, personally, I enjoy at home, whatever you guys do for that. But if you're going to drink caffeine, make sure that you have it before noon. And ideally, you buffer that with something actually in your belly before you drink the caffeine. So a good goal for Kelsey and I is I try and not have, the window for me of caffeine is between 60 to 120 minutes, or an hour to 2 hours upon waking up. And ideally, I have some form of, whether it be eggs or something nutritious before I actually consume that caffeine, so it doesn't mess up I don't want to say mess up in a negative, but like do too much effect on my hormones then throughout the day then as well. And then movement. Again, just a personal tidbit from me. I think we are designed to move, but maybe not have to actually push ourselves too hard to start the day. And what I mean by that is this: is I like to get up and stretch and walk and just move and kind of ease into my day, but kind of get my heart rate up before I just go and plop back down onto a couch or into a chair or drive to work. And then I tend to work out best over lunch or in the like early afternoon. Again, everyone has different work schedules and times, what works best for them. But what I see often is sometimes people, and again, I commend the early risers that set that alarm clock and go to the gym and work out really hard. Awesome, that's great. But if we are spiking a cortisol too soon and aren't able to regulate throughout the rest of the day, we may feel like we had a really good energy as far as our workout, but then we feel like, I'm going to say crud. From lunch on or something like that, because our cortisol spike is way off, our temperature is way off, and we're not allowing our body to wake up more naturally with that then too. So some people may feel very differently about that they get up and they do their hard workout and they go into their class. That's great. I just think that we are designed to get some movement in, but if your body is spiking cortisol at 5 a.m. before the sun's even up, it's tough to then re-regulate and have a good sleeping cycle then in that next night too. So to recap, I would say one of the big things is just seeing sunlight at some point throughout the morning, ideally within the first half an hour to an hour of waking up. Saving caffeine for an hour to 2 hours after you wake up is a huge way to hack that and really, or to hack your morning and to get the benefit of getting nutrition before you jump right into a caffeine spike. That will improve your cortisol overall. And think about, again, warming up at night and then cooling down or being colder in the morning to improve your body's own thermostat.
I think it's opposite.
You're exposing yourself to cold in the morning so that your thermostat warms up.
Yeah.
And you're exposing yourself. No, this is good. Thank you for calling that out. You're exposing yourself to cold in the morning so that your body warms up, your own thermostat warms up, and then at night you are exposing yourself to something warmer so that your temperature your thermostat starts to cool down.
Yeah.
Is that fair?
Yep.
Thank you. No, this is good. This is why we work together. And then again, this is not meant to be like follow this certain diet or this certain nutrition plan, but what we really want to think about is just having a good foundation for food. And typically what I see is the earlier that you do eat, it helps to set your biological clock. Now, again, they have a lot of people that enjoy intermittent fasting and different variations of that. There's some really good research behind that, and I totally can see the value of it. But I do know if we can start our day with really something nutritious rather than like people that might have 200 or 300 milligrams of caffeine before they even have anything of food. They tend to have gut problems, energy problems, and feel kind of just like their energy is like almost too much at times too. So nutritious food is a huge part of actually how you can regulate your body's own sleep cycle. I'm going to go over a little bit on just supplements. And again, I'm not huge on just saying, hey, throw all these supplements and just kind of see what happens. I would choose one of these and see what works best for you. As far as a couple of the different terms, I'm going to go over them and then come back to it in a second. The ones that I've seen work most effective as far as this is L-theanine, inositol, and we can put some of this in the comments too, or be able to send these as far as a text with follow-up, magnesium and glycine. And one quick thing on melatonin. Melatonin is not just a supplement. I think people oftentimes think that, oh, I want to get a good deep sleep, I'm going to go to the store and buy some melatonin. Melatonin is actually a hormone and it affects your body in a variety of different ways. And so when we try and just say we just almost become reliant upon melatonin to have a good night's sleep, a lot of this is we're actually trying to regulate your melatonin, your body's own storage of it too. So if we have too much exogenously or outside of our body and then consuming it, it's tough to regulate that and know like how to really set our rhythm. So the better you set your circadian rhythms, your sleep cycle, the better you're going to be able to actually utilize your body's own melatonin. But going back to some of these supplements, I would say you can maybe choose one and see if it really starts to help you. One is the first one I'm going to go over is inositol. People say inositol, whatever else it is. I call it inositol, and it's just 1 to 3 grams per day. And this one tends to help people the most for people that have the low carb diet or are really big on intermittent fasting. Another one that we probably have seen the most benefit from as far as our own office is people that take magnesium glycinate. Glycinate is what is probably the one that is most attuned to sleep and mood cycles as far as there's 6 different types of magnesium. I'm not going to get into all of that right now, but magnesium glycinate is the one that people tend to see affects their sleep cycles the most and just get them that rest without, sometimes when people take melatonin, they feel like it just hits them really hard and they just fall right to sleep. Magnesium is something where people take with dinner or later on in the evening and they feel like it just kind of eases them into their sleep and they feel really good overall. That magnesium is 120 milligrams twice daily. We have that supplement here in the office. Again, I think people just do really, really well with that. Magnesium in general is one of the things that we tend to, with the way that our current world is, that we are deficient in. And as we stay in sympathetic overdrive, we tend to deplete our body's own magnesium. So that's something that is really quite simple to supplement. Again, ideally, we're getting all this from our food and our nutrition. But if you wanted to try and say, hey, what are most people mostly deficient in? Magnesium typically rises to the top of that list. The last one to go over as far as supplements is glycine. You would take 3 grams 60 minutes before bed is what the research tends to show. Again, you don't have to do all of this and say, okay, we're going to throw the kitchen sink at it and see what happens. Maybe choose one of these, but those are some things to really key in on. Again, we can maybe get some of these and transpose this into a note for everyone, follow up with a text and see how we can best serve you with that. But again, being and eating a nutritious diet is how we can really hack our sleep, so to speak. And I don't even think that as a hack. Like, that's just a good lifestyle approach. And whether you want to say 80-20 or 90-10, really setting a good foundation as far as our nutrition starts to really help out with that. One more thing before I pass it over to Kels, that I see a lot of, that I think what we do, again, thinking about the 80-20 or 90-10 as far as our nutrition and our lifestyle, is if we have a really good, strong week, we go to sleep at the same time, we wake up at the same time, and we kind of have that routine. And the weekend, we totally do inverse of that. That can affect us for weeks and months on end with that too. So one thing that I would suggest is, let's say, so for me, I'm typically up by 6 to 6:30 most week mornings, if not even a little bit earlier. Sleeping in past 7 or 8 can really affect my circadian rhythms and beyond that. So ideally, our sleep-wake cycle is within an hour every day of the week. So let's say, on the weekend, maybe I'm up till 11 or 11:30. That might be okay if I fall asleep at 10 or 10:30. But if you're normally, like on a Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, you're asleep by 10, and all of a sudden on Friday or Saturday, you're up until 1 or 2 in the morning, again, enjoy life. I get that. We want to be able to enjoy life, but those can have really rebounding effects as far as our circadian rhythms then throughout the rest of the week, then from there then too. So I'm going to have Kelsey kind of finish up some of the things here, really be able to see some of this start to improve for you and be there for you. But go ahead.
Yeah. So one, thanks for tuning in. With this, I know it can be very overwhelming sometimes when it comes to certain topics, but we really encourage you, just pick a couple things to try and hone in on, so that you can truly see the effects of that, if it's working or if it's not working. So just pick a couple things, start small, and build from there, right? We love questions. We would love to sit down with you, whether you're a current patient or not a current patient right now. Call us, text us. We can sit down and have a consultation with you, whether it is sleep related or just your overall health and well-being. And we can schedule that. You can go to our website, revivalhealthdsm.com, or again, you can call or text us on the 515 number. So again, thanks for tuning in. If you have any questions, let us know. Other than that, rest well, friends. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Bye.